Ferrara is one of my favorite cities in Italy. When you visit, there are a couple of places you should be sure to see. First, Palazzo Schifanoia, Castello Estense, or the Este Castle, the Cathedral Museum, Palazzo Diamante, Piazza Savonarola, yes, that Savonarola, and Al Brindisi. Of course, I have suggestions on what you should eat and drink as well. Be sure to try the pasticcio di macaroni, the tenerina cake or torta tenerina, Cappellacci di zucca, Cappelletti in brodo, Zabov, which is an Italian egg liqueur, Nocino, which is different than Nocello, and Liquirizia. My favorite restaurants are Trattoria da Noemi, Ca di Ferrara, and of course Al Brindisi, where you can try those special dishes I told you about. Outside of Ferrara are Ristorante Abate Giotto in Coparo and Ristorante Al Cavaliere in Bossaro. If you're able and have the time, I would find the tomb of Lucrezia Borgia. She was a Duchess of Ferrara and she was buried there. When choosing a place to stay, I would concentrate on the inside of the ancient city walls. Most of these walls were built between 1493 and 1505 by the Este Duke, and these walls are some of the best preserved walls in the entire country of Italy, and are still used today by locals and visitors for biking and walking. We arrived in Ferrara in a day in March and found our apartment on this cute little street. We started by visiting Palazzo Schifanoia, a Renaissance palace built for the Este family, which is now a museum housing archaeological finds. And the main attraction is a cycle of frescoes by Cosimo Tura and Francesco del Cosa. These frescoes were painted in the late 1460s and present the seasons of the year in vignettes with allegorical figures and astrological presentations. The cafeteria at Schifanoia is also delightful. We tried the Cappellacci di zucca, which is a filled pasta made with grated Parmesan cheese, butternut squash, and nutmeg. It's served in either a sauce of butter and sage or in ragu. Both ways are equally delicious. That first night, we had dinner at Trattoria da Noemi. We had more Cappellacci and we had a steak, tagliata di manzo, which is a cut steak of some sort. It was a great evening. Then we walked down Via della Volte, which is an ancient street that linked the warehouses along the river to the shops and dates from the 8th century. The next morning, we headed to the main square and found musicians. This square links the cathedral and bell tower to the Este Castle. The white and pink marble is really beautiful. And there's a miniature of the bell tower in the Cathedral Museum. By the way, Savonarola is from Ferrara. His statue is in the main square. We stopped for lunch just next to Este Castle. We enjoyed a salad and some appetizers and wine, and then went for our tour. The moated castle in the center of Ferrara essentially presents the appearance given to it in the 16th century. There's a dungeon inside that would have been a beast to get in and out of, but the views from the towers of the castle are marvelous. For dinner, we ate at Ca di Ferrara. And the next day, I picked my first Pandora charm bracelet with 3 Italian charms. After that, we stopped in the oldest osteria in Europe, Al Brindisi, which has been operating since 1435. Full disclosure, some Italian bathrooms are going to require you to squat. Next up, Ariosto Library, home of the fresco that inspired my party-color 14th century dress. The next day, I dropped the ladies off at the airport and traded out the larger car for a smaller Fiat. And I drove to Abano Terme, where I enjoyed taking a dip in the thermal waters, especially the bubbly whirlpool waters. Of course, I had a spritz, and then treated myself to pizza that night.